Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Movie Otaku in person again. I've moved out of the internet cafe and into my own apartment, so hopefully it's a bit of an upgrade. Anyways, today I want to bring you my first top 10, my first of many, hopefully. This one is my top 10 theatrical experiences. In other words, my top 10 experiences in a movie theater. Now, this isn't necessarily the top 10 movies I've seen in the theater. If I did that list, it would probably be impossible. But instead, this is just my top 10 personal experiences. So anyways, I hope you enjoy. So coming in at number 10 is Fight Club. And this is an example of a movie that I saw in Orlando at this theater called Cinemark. And now at the time, I lived in Tampa Bay, which is my hometown. And Orlando, if you don't know, is about a 2-hour drive. But the reason I did it is because this movie theater chain called Cinemark often held like these like phantom event type things where they would show like these old movies and these double features and so on. So occasionally I would drive all the way to Orlando because that was where the nearest Cinemark was. At that theater, I've seen, for example, a double feature of 2001: A Space Odyssey and A Clockwork Orange. I once saw a Godfather 1 and 2 double feature. That was really cool. But the reason why I picked Fight Club is for one simple reason. It's because I went with my mom. Now, it's kind of funny because the first time I showed her Fight Club was not at this theater. It was at home. I had seen it recently for the first time and I really loved it and I wanted to show her. But I knew she would be resistant to it because something told me that she wasn't going to like a movie like this or take to it so easily. But I insisted that she do it. And when I brought her the DVD, she was like, oh, it's called Fight Club? Like, it sounds kind of like weird and violent and like not a good time at the movies, basically. But I persisted, I showed it to her, and she loved it. And she loved it so much that when I told her that it was going to be playing in Orlando, she wanted to come. So both of us had like a mini road trip to Orlando. We saw Fight Club when we came back the same day. And that was a really fun experience. And it was kind of a cool bonding experience between us. And that's why it's at number 10. So sticking to the theme of road trips to see movies, at number 9 is Satan Tango. And if you don't know, this is a nearly 7.5-hour Hungarian movie, which basically means that not a lot of theaters are going to want to show it. Now, this is a movie that I really loved, but we did not have a Blu-ray copy of it. So basically all we had is like DVD quality. And so this was one of my most wanted restorations. And when it finally happened, I knew that I had to go see it in the theater, no matter where it was. And it turns out that the closest theater that played it is in Jacksonville, which at the time I was living in Orlando, going to university. It's about a 5-hour drive from Orlando to Jacksonville. But me and my friends couldn't pass up this opportunity. So we drove 5 hours to Jacksonville to like this one like kind of random small theater in like the downtown area. It was my first time ever going to Jacksonville, by the way. And yeah, we saw it. And it was interesting because this movie has 2 intermissions because it's so long. So of course the theater honored those intermissions, but the intermissions were only 10 minutes long each, which was brutally short, and it felt brutally short. There were a ton of people that were like still going to the bathroom, like when the second and third part started. But anyways, the experience itself was really cool to see this movie in 4K or 2K, one of those, on a really big screen with an audience. So it was just really cool and kind of a dream come true. But the reason why it's all the way down in number 9 is because it was a very tiring experience. Driving 5 hours to Jacksonville, sitting down for 7.5 hours with almost no break, and then driving all the way back. It definitely took a lot out of us. So that's why it's down at number 9. But anyways, it was a really cool experience. Coming in at number 8 is City Lights by Charlie Chaplin. I saw this in Japan as part of the Tokyo Film Festival. So this was a memorable experience for a couple of reasons. One of them is that in Japanese theaters, people are almost always very quiet. I remember the first time I went to a movie theater in Japan, and during even the end credits, you could hear a pin drop. Like, there was just no reaction, no sounds, no laughter, no screaming by anyone. It was just like almost like a solemn event. And that's basically what every experience has been like, except for this movie. This was the only time I've been in the theater in Japan and people were actually laughing. For me, it was really satisfying that everyone was laughing at like a silent movie, like a Charlie Chaplin movie. I just thought it was like really, really cool. But the real reason why this is on this list is because I went with my girlfriend who likes movies for sure, but she's not into them like I am. and especially not into older movies. Before this, I don't think she'd ever seen a black and white movie, much less a silent movie. So when I said that I wanted to go, she reluctantly agreed to come along. And I could just tell that maybe she kind of sort of didn't know what to expect, and I think she was a little nervous coming in. And I was nervous because I was really hoping she would like it. Well, we went, she laughed a few times, which was really nice. And after the movie, I asked her what she thought, and she said that she enjoyed it, which felt like a victory for me. It was really, really cool. But of course, if I ask her again if she wants to see another silent movie or another Chaplin movie, she basically doesn't want to, which, that's okay. Hey, at least she saw one, so I'm really happy about that. And speaking of Japan, number 7 is, without a doubt, the most unique theater experience I've ever had. It's for a movie called Life Work of Akira Kurasawa. Basically, it's a documentary about the making of Ran by Kurasawa. It was by a man called Mitsuhiko Kawamura, and he was basically on the set. He was invited by Kurasawa to come and shoot a bunch of, behind-the-scenes footage. He shot, I think around 100 hours, if I'm not mistaken. But due to, a lot of copyright reasons and battles with, the movie company, it basically was never released until last year. So anyways, it was showing in this tiny Tokyo movie theater called Koenji Theater Bacchus. And my friend invited me to come along. He was the one who discovered it, and he let me know, and we were both interested. Anyways, we went one day, and we kind of expected there to be a lot of people there because, it was about Kurasawa, and it was a rare movie. So, we thought it would stir some interest. But we were the only 2 people there. This is a picture of it. But as you can see, it's a really cool looking theater with these really small, down to the ground chairs. It felt like a home theater in the best sense. But anyways, this guy came out, introduced the movie, he showed the movie. And the movie itself is interesting, I think, only if you're a fan of Kurasawa. But if you are, then you're going to love it because it's basically just an assemblage of footage of Kurasawa directing. And if you ever wanted to see what that looked like, this is a good opportunity to see. And you can even see the making of some of the coolest shots in the movie, including all the battle scenes. And one of my favorite shots in the movie where the guy comes in and kills the woman, I'm not sure what her name is, and blood splatters all over the wall. And you actually see that scene being shot, which was really cool if you wanted to know kind of how they did that and how it went. But anyways, after the movie was over, to our shock, the guy who made the movie came on stage and he started talking, and with his translator, he basically talked only to us. And we had a little small Q&A where we asked him a couple questions and so on. But anyways, we did not expect to see the maker of the movie to actually come. We felt bad because we were the only 2 people there. But in a way, it felt like we bonded a little bit more with him. And after we talked, we left the theater and we talked more in the lobby. And he was really, really nice. We took this picture with him. He's the guy on the right. Even though I was nervous to speak to him, I spoke to him in Japanese, which made me doubly nervous. So we kind of stumbled through a little conversation. But in the end, he gave me his card. And he basically invited me to call or text him anytime so we could meet up and talk about movies, which was just really cool. I haven't taken him up on the offer yet, but who knows, maybe I will in the future. And just as a little cherry on top, he said that I'm a part of Kurasawa's family, which one probably doesn't hear that every day. So, yeah, that was interesting. Number 6 is actually a tie between Cemetery of Splendor and Let the Sun Shine In. Now, initially, I had both of these movies separate, but they're on my list for similar reasons, so I decided to make them a tie. The Cemetery of Splendor was probably the first new movie I saw by an auteur who I discovered while I was getting into world cinema after high school. Out of all the directors I discovered, he was one of the most interesting to me. And still to this day is one of my absolute favorite directors. But anyways, I become a big fan of him. So after hearing that his latest movie was coming to Florida, obviously I had to go. It was at the Sarasota Film Festival. So I went there, I saw it, and I was in movie heaven the whole time. It was just a really great experience. And great knowing that I'm watching a movie that has fully lived up to the expectations set by his previous movies that I've loved. So that was a really cool experience. And similarly, Let the Sun Shine In was the new film by Claire Denis. And similar to Apichatpong, she was an auteur who I really discovered and fell in love with as I was getting into movies. And so I was really excited to see her new movie, Let the Sunshine In. And so I just so happened to be in New York when this movie was playing. I've only been there one time, and I was just lucky that it was showing. And I think I saw it at the Lincoln Center, but I enjoyed it so much that I went back the next day and saw it again, but in the IFC Center, which was like a really cool movie theater if you get the chance to go there. The reason why these are tied in number 6 is because they were both movies I had high expectations for. And they were movies that I would never have even remotely heard of if I didn't get into movies before. And neither of them disappointed. They were both like really great movies. So anyways, that's why they're tied at number 6. All right, so now I'm into the top 5. And at number 5 is Blazing Saddles. Now, I've actually seen this in the theaters a few times, but this particular time was at the Patel Conservatory in Tampa Bay. And the reason why this is on the list is because following the movie was a Q&A with Mel Brooks himself, which was like a dream come true for me. In middle school and high school, Mel Brooks was basically my movie god. He was my obsession. I loved his movies so much, and I still do, but especially when I was a little younger, his movies meant everything to me, and Mel Brooks meant everything to me. And actually, one of my life's goals was to be able to meet Mel Brooks before he dies, and he's still alive and kicking, so maybe there's still a chance. Who knows? Probably not. But anyways, even though I didn't get to actually talk to him, meet him, or even look him straight in the eye, I saw him in person, which is good enough for me, frankly. But beyond that, the experience of watching the movie was great because everyone was laughing and the theater was big and packed. For me, Blazing Saddles is one of the great movies to see with an audience because every time I've seen this with a crowd of people, everyone always has a great time and it lasts from beginning to end. So it was a really cool experience. And just as a bonus, Mel Brooks even told us, and to be honest, we were supposed to keep it a secret, he said, but it's been several years after, so I think it's okay. He said that he was making Spaceballs 2, or at least preparing to make Spaceballs 2. And I even took a video of him saying this, but unfortunately, I can't find it, so it's maybe lost forever. But anyways, the fact that he said this, and the fact that Spaceballs was one of my absolute favorite movies when I was growing up, and still today it's one of my favorite movies, it was just a really cool thing. So anyways, Blazing Saddles, number 5. Coming in number 4 is Avengers Endgame. Now this is a weird entry, because I'm not exactly a big MCU fan. As a matter of fact, shortly before I saw Endgame, I had only seen the first 2 MCU movies, Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk, and both of which I didn't like. So yeah, I wasn't really into it. But just because of the sheer hype, and just because I knew it was going to be a big movie, and it was going to be a really popular movie that everyone would see, and of course it turned out that it was, I decided to buckle down and watch all the MCU movies in a row in a matter of 1 or 2 weeks. So that's what I did. I was able to finish every MCU movie, many of which I didn't care for. There were only a select few that I actively enjoyed. Or that I actively liked and would see again. But it was worth it just so I could be in on the hype to see the new MCU movie, and possibly at that time the last MCU movie, or at least the culmination of everything that came before. So actually me and my friends went to see Endgame on opening night, which is just really cool. I think that was the first opening night I've ever been to, which is really kind of weird. But I was just never one to go to one of those things. And I must say, it was easily the most, exciting experience I've ever had with an audience. Not necessarily in terms of my personal reaction, but just in terms of being with a super excited and enthusiastic audience. It was just a really great atmosphere. Everyone was cheering at the same time, laughing at the same time. And my favorite moment was the moment that happened about 20 minutes in, where everyone just let out a huge gasp, myself included. That was just a really, impactful moment for me. Because, no, to be honest, I actually don't watch movies in the theaters very much, especially now. I'm mostly just content to watch movies on my laptop or on my phone, to be honest. So the theater experience needs to be special for me to actively want to go to the theater and watch it. And for me, this was one of the most special times I've been to the theater. Just the opening night atmosphere of seeing what would be the highest grossing movie ever. And being that this movie was the conclusion of 20 plus movies that came before, this 3-hour epic. It was just a really cool experience that I'll never forget. So anyways, Avengers Endgame, number 4. And speaking of special, coming in at number 3 is Titanic, the 25th anniversary re-release. I saw this in Japan with my girlfriend. This was kind of an unexpected theater experience because she's not a big fan of Titanic because it has like a sad ending. I like Titanic okay, but I'm not like blown away by it. But I enjoy it. We initially weren't going to go, but it was Valentine's Day, so we decided, oh, why not? Let's just go. So anyways, we went, and it turned out to be like the most romantic time I've ever been to the movies. I've never really gone on dates at the movies all that much in my life, but this was the best. It was great because like during the whole last half of the movie, while the Titanic was about to sink, and especially like towards the end as it is sinking and the situation getting really dire, she kept like clinging on to me, and I kind of like supported her, and it was just a really like cool personal like moment. It was like a really nice bonding moment between us. So that was really neat, and she was crying during it, so it was kind of fun. But the best part about it was not that, but it was actually at the end, because there's a scene where the old Rose is going up to the ship and she's about to throw the bracelet or the necklace. And when she throws the necklace, she makes a really weird noise. And when she did that, both of us just started laughing. And trust me, we're like the only ones in the theater who are laughing at that moment. Because imagine the whole theater is really like sad and everyone's crying. And just out of nowhere, like both of us start laughing at the same time. And that was a special moment because it shows that we both have like the same sense of humor. And I definitely confirmed what I already knew, that, she was meant for me. So anyways, that was a really great experience. So I put it really high up at number 3. Coming in at number 2 is Boyhood. Now this was a day that I'll never forget. Now I briefly mentioned the Tampatheater in my previous video, which was one of the oldest movie theaters in Florida. It was built in 1926, I think. And it was a silent movie palace back in the day. And after high school, I went to this theater a lot and saw many great movies there. Just to name a few examples, I saw Citizen Kane, Vertigo, Rebecca when I was younger, Lawrence of Arabia, Casablanca, Jaws. I even saw a long time ago the silent movie version of Phantom of the Opera with a live orchestral accompaniment by the Florida Orchestra, I believe. But nothing compares to the first time I saw Boyhood there. Now, actually, the first time I heard about Boyhood was when I was at the theater before, and I saw it in the trailer, and the premise seemed so cool to me that I decided that I had to go see this movie no matter what. So that's what I did. I went on the first night it came out. I think I was the first one in the door because I went there really early because I was super excited. I remember exactly where I sat. I went to the balcony. I was able to perch my feet on like the railing in front, and I sat back and I watched nearly 3 hours of just a glorious cinematic experience. Like, I was absorbed into this movie almost like I've never been absorbed into a movie before, where I just forgot everything around me and I was just sucked into this experience. And it was really great because me and the character in the movie, Mason, we were about the same age. So like, I recognize his life as it was progressing. And so it was a really personal experience. I went by myself, so it felt all the more personal. And I felt like I truly connected with this movie more than I've connected to like any other movie almost. And then after the movie was over and I went home, it was all I could think about. And literally for weeks on end, I could not stop thinking about Boyhood. To this day, of course, it's one of my absolute all-time favorite movies. And the first time I saw it at the Tampatheater was an experience I'll never forget. So Boyhood, number 2. All of it leads me to number 1. And when I knew I was going to make this list, I instantly knew what number 1 was going to be. This was a no-brainer. And it's also the oldest cinematic experience on this list. It's Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now, this movie, oh my god, what an experience. Now, keep in mind that I was 10 when this movie came out, and until that point, I had grown up seeing the Star Wars movies, the 2 prequels, and of course the original trilogy. So I grew up on Star Wars, and the fact that I was finally able to see the culmination of the saga in theaters for the first time just left me so excited. And not only did it not disappoint, but it blew me away like no other Star Wars movie had even come close to doing, and I had loved all the previous Star Wars movies. I remember so clearly my heart was racing the whole time, and goosebumps were just like all over my body the whole time. I mean, it was darker than the previous movies, it felt more polished, it felt like it was really heading straight first into something, whereas the previous two movies in the prequel trilogy did feel a little, like, slow at times, basically. Like, not much was progressing. But in this movie, it was just a clear charge from beginning to end. From epic start, where you see, like, the ships, like, going through space, just that tracking shot where they're just weaving through all the ships. I was just, I was just so excited by it. All of which culminates in, like, the ending, which not only did Anakin fight Obi-Wan, but Emperor Palpatine fought Yoda at the same time. I mean, I can't even begin to describe how excited I was and how just into it I was. I mean, I was blown away like I've never been blown away, possibly ever, watching a movie. Now, if I had been older at the time, maybe it would have been less so. But the fact that I was a kid and I'd grown up watching Star Wars and I was just waiting to see how it would end, and to finally see it end in such an epic way, to me is just like the height of what a great cinematic experience can do. So anyways, Revenge of the Sith is my best cinematic experience I've ever had. Thanks so much for watching my video. Goshou makoto ne arigatou gozaimasu. I definitely want to make more top 10s, and I will. So anyways, I will see you next time, and hope you have a great day. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more top 10s, or you want to see me, like, just talking about random topics about movies, or you want to see my 1000 favorite movie series, where I talk about my favorite movies all while showing you the beautiful sights of Japan, please consider liking and subscribing. It will really help so much. Anyways, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.